Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you all for being here before us today. The Washington Post reported that General Lloyd Austin, the commander of the U.S. forces in the Middle East, recommended, quote, that his best military advice was to send a modest contingent of American troops, principally special op forces, to advise and assist Iraqi army units in fighting the militants. But that recommendation was cast aside by the administration. Could you describe General Austin's recommendation for the campaign? How many American troops did he recommend be sent to advise and assist Iraqi units? And what role would they have played compared to the strategy that was selected by the President? And did you concur with General Austin's recommendation? Maybe, Mattis, you could start.
Madam Congresswoman, I did not see the recommendation. I'm not current on it, and so I cannot speak to it. I would say that you just don't take anything off the table up front, which apparently the administration has tried to do, and I understand their reluctance to engage in yet another fight. I do understand that, but I think that the best military advice would never take some of our capability off the table. And if there's better military advice to be had, I would be eager to see it. But I think right now, up against this enemy, we're going to have to take our own side in this, and in that regard, it means we use all of our capabilities. But I have not seen the specific recommendations, so I prefer not to comment on it.
Yeah, I just want to say I really appreciate your response. I really do, especially your phrase that was, I think we need to take our own side on this. I think that couldn't have been better said. I really appreciate your comment. I also wonder if any of you could respond on the Yemen and the Somali model. Do you believe that the current situation in Yemen and Somalia present a successful end state that the United States should seek to achieve in Iraq and Syria?
Clearly, Madam Congresswoman, in both Yemen and Somalia, as well as other parts of the region where we face al-Qaeda franchises, we have degraded their capabilities. By no means have we defeated them. Not in Yemen, not in Somalia, not in North Africa, not in the Afghan-Pakistan border area. The stated policy of this administration: degrade and defeat. So if our aim is to defeat, then I would not consider Somalia and Yemen as satisfactory end states, because the enemy is still there, degraded but not defeated.
Ambassador, do you believe that the President's strategy will ultimately destroy ISIS? It didn't lead to the destruction of AQAP or al-Shabaab, but do you believe that this strategy will ultimately defeat and destroy ISIS?
Ma'am, the Islamic State is fundamentally, no pun intended, different than the various al-Qaeda affiliates. As has been said earlier, they are effectively a nation state. They control ground. That exposes them to vulnerabilities because there are targets on that ground. But it also gives them something that no al-Qaeda or al-Qaeda mutant has had since 9/11. Secure space in which to plan large and long-term operations. And if we do not think we are on that list, we are delusional.
I would agree with you. Do you think this strategy, and I'd also like to hear from General Mattis as well, do you believe this strategy of the President's will ultimately destroy ISIS?
I think, ma'am, it is a strategy that is going to evolve over time and as conditions change. I think it is a good start, but as the President has said, this is a multi-year endeavor. And things are going to look a lot different in 6, 12, 18 months than they do now. And that's where I would agree with General Mattis. We have got to maintain maximum flexibility to how we respond to an evolving situation. Again, this is a good start. I do not think it's sufficient to defeat.
No, I thank you, and I appreciate it. And I realize my time is expiring, but General Mattis, I'm just wondering, why have we put the world's most magnificent military on the shelf in favor of prospectively recruiting and training army that will never be anywhere near what we have in our capability today. If, in fact, this is the greatest threat that the United States has faced from the Islamic State, why in the world are we putting the best army on the shelf in favor of something that will never equal that?
Very quickly, Madam Congresswoman, I think that this strategy has many of the right elements to it. I don't think it goes far enough, and I think as you listen to the administration and other other intelligence agencies characterize it, there's a mismatch between that and the means that we're applying against it. I think the most important thing is to get the political clarity of the end state persuasively explained to the American people and the global audience. That will help align the right people. And you don't have to use the best military. These people aren't that good. So we shouldn't compare the ones that we're arming, and I agree with the decision made by the House yesterday to go forward with arming them. You don't have to compare the people to the U.S. military. They just have to be better than the enemy. So there are elements that are right. I still would not take any element of America's power off the table, and that's not just military, but it certainly includes the best military in the world. We have the power to intimidate. We also have the power of inspiration. We should use both those powers and bring them together and let the enemy know we don't scare. They thought on 9/11 they could hurt us and scare us. We've got to go back now and make very clear to them that not even beheadings scare us, that, as the Vice President put us, we'll follow them to the ends of the earth and go after them. But I don't think that war being a fundamentally unpredictable phenomenon that you can take something off the table either.